All right, let's talk about something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's happening right now. We're on the verge of a massive shift in how science itself gets done, and it's all thanks to a new kind of researcher, one that isn't even human.
So let me just throw this out there. It's a huge question, and one that hits close to home for millions. Do you think an AI, all on its own, could actually dig through mountains of data and find a brand new clue, a real lead in the fight against Alzheimer's?
Well, the wild thing is, this isn't some what if scenario. The answer is a clear, definitive yes. An AI system, an autonomous scientist they call Cosmos, did that exact thing. It cut through all the noise and found a totally new idea for what makes our brains vulnerable as we age.
Yeah, so let's dive right into that discovery because honestly, it's the perfect way to show you just how powerful this approach really is. So, what Cosmos pieced together is it's a fascinating theory. Picture this: your healthy brain cells have a kind of security guard, a gene, that keeps a danger signal tucked away inside. But as we get older, that security guard gets a little tired, a little less active, the danger signal slips out. And the brain's cleanup crew, these little janitor cells called microglia, they see the signal and think the healthy cell is garbage that needs to be taken out. Cosmos figured out that this mistake, this accidental cleanup, might open up a whole new door for Alzheimer's to walk right in. And the truly incredible part? This exact pattern was later found in actual human brains.
I mean, come on, that is a PhD level insight right there. So you're probably asking the same thing I was. What is this Cosmos thing anyway?
See, this is the key. Cosmos isn't just another tool or an assistant for a scientist. It's designed to be the scientist. You give it a big, vague goal, something like, hey, find me some new drug targets and all this genetic data. And it just goes. It works completely on its own, from cooking up the first ideas to writing the final, fully cited paper, the whole shebang.
And it's really interesting to think about why something like Cosmos even needs to exist. Right now, science is drowning in information. Seriously, millions of new papers come out every year, plus these absolutely colossal data sets. It's physically impossible for any single person or even a whole team of people to read it all, let alone connect the dots between everything. And this is what separates Cosmos from the AI most of us are used to. An AI assistant, like ChatGPT, is amazing at answering a specific question you give it. But Cosmos is designed to chase after a broad goal. An assistant summarizes what we already know. Cosmos is built to create new knowledge. And maybe the biggest difference, where other AIs can kind of lose the plot, Cosmos can lock in on a single, complex problem for up to 12 hours straight, running the entire research cycle by itself. Okay, so that's the big question, right? How the heck does it stay focused? How does it avoid just getting lost in the data and going off on some random tangent? Well, let's peek under the hood. The secret sauce here is this thing they call a structured world model. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a shared digital whiteboard. Cosmos is actually a team of different AI agents. One's an expert at reading papers, another is a data analysis whiz. As each agent finds something new, they write it on this shared whiteboard. It means the whole system stays on the same page, building on its own discoveries for hours without ever losing sight of the main goal.
And you can see exactly how this plays out in its workflow. It's a pretty neat cycle. It starts with a human scientist just pointing it in the right direction. Then the AI agents go to work, reading, analyzing, and constantly updating that shared whiteboard. And it's not a one-shot deal. This loop repeats over and over for hours, getting smarter each time. And at the very end, it spits out a finished report where every single claim is traced back to the source data or paper. And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, get ready for this number. During one of these deep research runs, Cosmos can read and understand about 1,500 scientific papers. Just think about that for a second. For a human researcher, that could be a lifetime of reading, and it does it in half a day. It's just insane. Okay, so this all sounds amazing on paper, right? But does it actually work in the real world? Let's get into the results, the good and, yeah, the not so good. We're going to look at both its stunning wins and its very real limitations. So one of the coolest tests they did was basically a blind challenge. Could Cosmos rediscover something a human had just found without being told about it? They gave it a bunch of data on solar cells, it chewed on it for a while, and came back saying the number one thing that makes them break down is the absolute humidity during manufacturing. Well, it turns out a team of human scientists had just published a paper coming to that exact same conclusion. The AI had no idea it found it all on its own. And get this, it wasn't a one-hit wonder. The AI showed it could do this in totally different fields. It jumped over to neuroscience and figured out how mouse brains are protected from extreme cold. Then it went to cardiology and found a gene that protects the heart from scarring. It just kept hitting the mark, generating real, testable insights, no matter what science you threw at it.
But, and this is a big but, here's where things get really telling. When they had human experts grade Cosmos's work, a super clear pattern popped up. Look at this. When it comes to just crunching the data or reviewing the literature, it scores over 80%. That's fantastic. But when it came to synthesis, connecting the dots and figuring out the deeper so what, the score drops a lot. This shows us that it's an unbelievable tool for finding facts. But that human spark of intuition, that's still king.
And that brings us to its other big weakness. The creators even have a name for it, the rabbit hole problem. Sometimes it finds a connection in the data that looks amazing, but is actually meaningless. It's a fluke. And that's why you still absolutely need a human in the loop, running the system a few times to make sure its findings are solid and not just a statistical ghost.
Okay, so we've seen the huge wins and the real-world limits. What does it all add up to? What's the big picture here for the future of how we do science?
If you want to talk about real-world impact, how about this little stat? The PhD scientists who actually tested Cosmos estimated that a single 12-hour run could churn out the equivalent of 6 months of their own hard work. That's not just a small improvement. That's a complete change in the speed of science.
And this is really the take-home message here. This isn't about AI replacing scientists. Not at all. It's about building a brand new kind of team where you combine the creativity and intuition of a human with the raw speed and scale of an AI.
And this table really spells out what that new team looks like perfectly. The human job doesn't go away. It gets better. We get to focus on what we're uniquely good at, asking those big, imaginative questions, using our gut feelings to guide the research, and making the final call. The AI then becomes the ultimate superpowered assistant, checking millions of ideas and finding connections that we would just never, ever see.
So I'll leave you with this thought to chew on. We've just seen what one of these AI scientists can do, right? Squeezing months of research into a single day. So what happens to the pace of human progress when we don't just have one, but 1,000 of them, all working at the same time on our biggest problems? What could we discover then?